Hey everybody, Aaron Shea here for a offline habitat now. We're going to be doing more of these as the time goes by because we appreciate your time. I want you to know that you can watch these videos about our many talented artists and our habitat family at your leisure. Learn about their work, contact us to see what's available. They make such masterpieces. And I'm so excited to continue doing our habitat zooms in a new fashion. So today I have artist Michael Janis joining me from Washington, D.C. He will be at our upcoming Glass Coast weekend, which is coming up real fast, January 9th through 12th. We market the exhibition as the Glass Art Fair, the Sarasota Glass Art Fair, which will be open to the public as well. But the VIP event is that Glass Coast weekend. So upcoming Glass Coast weekend, we have our Masterworks auction online right now. It'll be happening on the very first day of the Glass Coast weekend down in Sarasota. Go to our Habitat Masterworks site, habitat.com, click on the Masterworks on top, and you can peruse and bid today. So enough of that said, I'm so excited to have you here, Michael. Thank you for joining me today. Come and say hi to everybody.
Hey everyone, it's nice to see you. I know that the Habitat events are always the fun, exciting time to be together and get together and see what's new and see all the other collectors and artists. It's just a fun time.
I agree. Since Sofa's disappeared, it's really the only time we get to see everybody is our international, and we travel and do shows. We're going to be doing hopefully more art fairs as time goes by if the costs are right. So we'll see what the future holds. But thank you for joining me, Michael. It's an honor to have you. Go ahead and take over the screen.
Okay,
Um,
let me just go and do that.
Sure, Michael has a couple of new exciting sculptures that I'm eager to talk about. And this is going to be kind of a brief overview of the work in the show, and I'm looking forward to learn more about what's going on. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, but just in case someone doesn't know who I am, I'm going to give a little background into my history and how I came to where I am right now with the Habitat family. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of my what I do and where I work and everything else like that.
Great.
Uh, I was an architect in Chicago and in Australia, and that kind of informs how my work is. It tends to be very focused and disciplined, and very much I work very precisely as I work in my artwork. And I'm now one of the directors of the Washington Glass School and Studio here in DC. It's a large arts organization just now located on the outskirts of DC because DC is a very expensive town. But we are working at making DC change its perception from being just a one subject town to being also very much about the arts. So it's kind of exciting to work with the DC Commission on changing the perception of DC. I also, as a artist at the Washington Glass Studio, I do a lot of public art. So these are large scale outdoor sculptures or indoor sculptures that are very site specific. And we often work at involving community and creating the artwork that will be located in their area. So that way we're really making the whole neighborhood feel invested in the artwork. And it just gives a lot of people who never thought they could work with glass a chance to work in the medium. And we're able to work on a lot of different scales on a lot of different applications, outdoor applications, having it lit, having them indoor applications. And it really is a very expressive way to work with glass as a sculptural medium. Now, as a director of the Glass School, I'm also a teacher. So I'm also teaching a lot of workshops in the studio or organizing how classes are or dealing with our studio artists. So it is a thing that's part of my background is to be part of it as an educator in the community. The way I work in glass is a little bit different than a number of the other artists at Habitat. I'm working with kiln form glass, and that's fused glass, and that means I'm using glass that's inside of an electric box that gets heated up to about 1500 degrees, and it melts all together. So that's the way that I make a lot of my artwork. And this really makes me able to work differently in my artwork where I'm not rushing to get it done in time before it starts seizing up and going for another reheat. I'm essentially assembling it and then melting it together inside a kiln. And I also am able to then use crushed glass as a way to draw. So the way I'm doing to get my imagery is actually using crushed glass powder that's just really finely ground and that I'm sifting it onto a sheet of glass and pushing it around until I make a pattern that I like.
That shows your talent enough, being able to draw, let alone draw with moving frit.
And here's a little video that kind of gives an indication. I have the tools of what I trade on the bottom of the screen, but it is just grain by grain. I'm pushing it around with an X-Acto blade or a rubber tip clay shaper to make the imagery. And that just gives me a way to really be contemplative about the work. It's very fussy. It's very slow. You can't have fans on. You can't have other people interrupting, but it gives me that chance to really look at what I'm doing and focus on each thing. And you can change a lot of tenor of the artwork by just a few grains of frit powder. And I really like that contemplative aspect of how I'm making the artwork. And it is something that I can add more. I can fire it and then go back and go again. So after I fire on the stuff, I'm loading it up in a kiln. And this kind of gives you an indication how I'm going from sketch through the format where I'm working on a light box to see what the density is. It allows the artwork to evolve as I work on it, and it just kind of takes us into different directions as I go on with it. And I'm also, since I'm trying to make a contemporary take on these pieces, I like working figurative and I like working fairly realistic, but I also want to make it very contemporary, and I also want to have color and pattern be a strong part of the artwork. So oftentimes I'll mix the figurative works with abstraction so that the color and the strength and the liveliness comes through of the piece. So there's almost an emotional tenor with the color that is part of that work. And I'll also incorporate cast glass elements a lot of times, or other elements that start interacting with that figurative shape so that there's a lot more depth to the piece and a dynamic quality to that work. Sometimes I'll start using mixed media where I'm using not only glass, but acrylics and other kind of components to just give a strong dimension to the work.
One of my favorites.
Thank you for that. And a lot of times I'll let it be very moody and very kind of introspective that draws you in. And I'll also play with color and just make it the strongest pop of color. And these kind of pick up on where glass fits into the full art world that we are existing in, because we don't have just the glass world. We are part of the broader art world. And I want to make sure that my works are within that realm. And I started working with larger scale, saying how big can I go? How strong of an element? So I started working with larger panels. These are 20 by 40, and that when you start assembling them into larger pieces, you have a very strong statement that reads very well as it's installed in the space. You can see some of the larger pieces that Habatat has at the gallery. And the one on the left was actually from the Contemporary Craft in Pittsburgh, had as their finalists for a craft award. And again, I like the vibrancy of color. I like the abstraction of it. I like the fact that you still can see an emotional connection with the work and have a strong aesthetic punch to the work. I'm also working very dimensionally, where I'm assembling these into an aluminum frame so that it becomes, instead of a flat wall art, it's much more of a sculpture that is just found a different place rather than on a pedestal. It's actually projecting out of the wall. And that I'm going to use all the qualities of glass, where some of it is going to be transparent so that the color of the lights above are being thrown down below from the piece. And this was a piece that was shown at the last International at Habatat. And this is a short video that someone had made that just kind of shows me working.
This is the action part.
Yeah, the exciting part that's inside a kiln. Now, these are some new works that I'm actually presenting at the glass weekend. And I like that kind of strong punch, and I like how they work both individually and together. And I think that they're a nice scale. They're not too big. They're very manageable, but they are a lot of punch within that one piece or both pieces where it really kind of draws you in and you really feel like you're making a statement with the artwork. And I'm very excited that Habitat is including it in the show in Florida. And I think that in particular, I think that that vibrancy of color is well suited to the Florida climate, but I think it works in any city because it just has such an intimacy with that huge scale and bold color with the figurative drawings on it.
I agree. I think that the work itself, flip back to the last slide, is very dramatic, and I can see that it was like fit into a movie set as well, where you're like walking down a hallway and have a reflective view into your own world. They're incredible works. Thank you.
So that is my little quick 10-minute intro of my work. And then my next slide just shows me when I'm dropping off the work at the Habitat family. And it's an exciting thing to be part of the largest glass gallery in the country, or probably the only one that I can say it's a big force. And so I'm really honored to be part of one of their cabal of artists that are part of them.
Thank you, Michael. You're an important part. I love your work. It's very stimulating and visual, and we've done well over the years and continue our relationship. So thank you again. I want to remind everybody to come see Michael. He's going to be down in Sarasota with us during the Glass Coast weekend. He'll be there on the floor, have a chance to talk with him about his work and what he made and how he made it. It's always fun to do that. And there'll be other artists there as well. So this will wrap up our talk today. And if you want to see more about the show, if you're going to come to the VIP weekend, it's at glasscoastweekend.com. Just want to learn about visiting the fair, go to glassartfair.com. Both are up, ready for you to explore and come see us down in Florida. So thank you, Michael, again for joining me today, and we'll see everybody down in Florida. Be well. Well, Michael just updated me. We'll not see him in Florida, but we'll see him at our next Habitat event very soon. But he's only a phone call away, and look forward to seeing everybody down in Sarasota. See you then.